Is your dog a super ratter in barn hunt? Meaning they mostly want to find rats, and tunneling is for jokers. My dog Norby used to believe that tunnels were for jokers, and I understand why. He didn't find them rewarding. Sometimes they're a little scary because they're dark and you don't know which direction they're going, even for a small dog. And honestly, there's rarely ever rats in there. In this video, I'm going to show you the 5 things that help Norby and I reduce the conflict and increase the success of tunneling in trials. You may have practiced tunnels and making tunnels positive in training, and then your dog gets to a trial and they revert back to their old ways of avoiding the tunnel, and you're getting into conflict and negotiations to try to get them through the tunnel. And this holds you back from progressing in barn hunt, but also the joy of it is kind of deflating from you as a team getting to do all the things. The number one thing you need to remember is that tunnels have to be rewarded. Now this is going to maybe create some conflict in your own brain, but your dog loves rats. So how can you make tunnels more valuable in your practice and in your training? The very first thing is to find out, how do I reward them with a tunnel? Now I have tried sandwiches from fast food places. I've tried really delicious treats. I've tried all the things when it comes to food, since my dog is not super toy motivated. Maybe yours is. But the number one reward is rats. And my friend Shay up in Aiken, South Carolina, helped us figure out this piece of the puzzle, and it has been a game changer for Norby. So for him, and maybe for your dog, is making sure that you hide rats in the tunnel. Now I know, only novice level is ever gonna have a rat in the tunnel, and it's rarely seen, right? So what you wanna do is make it super rewarding in the tunnel that most of the time, so 98% of the time when you're practicing, a rat is gonna live in the tunnel. Bonkers, right? But that is the best way to tell your dog to always check tunnels and that they are highly rewarded. The rate of reinforcement is so high that when you practice, and you need to practice often, don't just go compete with your dog, especially if you have tunnel issues, is you are going to have a rat in the tunnel. Now there's multiple ways we're gonna break this down. One way is to actually create what I have named a corked tunnel. So a corked tunnel is going to have a rat either in a box or a tube, and we're gonna talk about that. And they're going to be placed at the end of a tunnel, and a hay bale is gonna be jammed in or blocked in some way at that end of the tunnel where the rat is, so that your dog has one way in and one way out. And the way out is blocked because there's a rat there, and we want them to go in the tunnel to get it. And then when they get to the rat, you're going to pull that hay bale out and praise them and reward them and play on that tube or box. You may want to start with a simpler tunnel than what you have here. You might want to start with even just a novice tunnel if your dog is really averse to tunnels. Break it down so they can be successful. Remember, we're trying to reduce the conflict in tunnels and encourage them and have success and make them want to go into a tunnel. Let's talk about your dog's love of rats. Now, I don't know how long you've been doing barn hunt, but we like to make sure that many dogs who have not seen a rat since the very beginning of their barn hunt career get to see a rat. Now, not all dogs can handle that, right? Some are way over the top about a rat, and they don't need to see it. But if you have a dog who's kind of demotivated and not really loving finding a tube or finding a tube in a tunnel, you may want to move to a box rat. Now, our boxes are primarily used for introducing dogs to rats, and then NASDA, another rat sport. And I really like the construction of these boxes. We purchased them from someone, so you can make something yourself. It's double walled. So the rats are secure, and the rats can't touch the dog, and the dog can't touch the rats. Now, Norby loves seeing the rats. That gets him super jazzed. So I make sure in our training with tunnels specifically, he doesn't need it out on the course, is that when I do the corked tunnel, oftentimes the rat is in a box. Or if I'm gonna do something that I've named Uber Rat, which I'll show you here shortly, that sometimes they come out in a box, because that is like level 10 out of 10 for him. He loves a tubed rat, but that it does not compare to a boxed rat. Another way to reward your dog for going in the tunnel is what I call rat on a rope or on a leash. The rat tube, or even a rat box, depending on what your dog likes, and we're going to talk about that, is you're going to use a slip lead or some way to attach a leash to the tube so you can easily get it out and safely out of the tunnel. Some dogs will take that rat into the tunnel with them, and I don't want you climbing in there with a dog who likes rats and trying to get it away from them. It's better to have a handle to remove that rat swiftly and easily. There's a bit of chase in it, so that can be exciting to the dog. Again, always keep the rat in mind. There's a live animal in there. And you're going to slide that into the tunnel as far as you can. And I don't care initially which way the dog gets to it. They may not fully tunnel. That is okay. We are imprinting that rats live in tunnels and rats are rewarding. So we are sliding it in as far as we can and then letting the dog self-discover it. It's in there. Let's say they find it on the side that the leash is going to be coming out. No problem. We're not trying to get them to tunnel in that moment. We are trying to encourage them that tunnels are awesome. Now, talking about one more way to reinforce your dog with a rat when they tunnel is what I call an Uber rat. Now, if you ever see Norby compete or watch any of our videos with him competing, you will see him go to the edge, especially if it's in our barn, and look for someone to give him a rat after he tunnels. He comes out flying and he's like, who's got it? Who's going to be giving it to me? And in trial, that's not something we do, right? We're not going to bring a rat from out to in. But in training, you can and you should. So what I like to do is either a box or a tube, and I'll have a spare if I feel like he might tunnel before he finds a rat. And then once he tunnels, we run to the edge, or I have a helper bring a rat out, and then we have a party at the rat. That is a huge reinforcement for him. I want tunnels to be just the best thing ever. And so an Uber rat means it's delivered to him. He loves those if the rat's not already in the tunnel. Now again, 98% of the time, there's going to be a rat in the tunnel because that is what he likes, and that is what gets me the biggest bang for my time. And then Uber rat is an additional piece. Now, how would you deal with that in trial, right? Don't you think your dog's going to get smart to that? Well, yes, they are going to become smart to that. So I'm mindful how many times I will trial compared to my practice. So we have some trials coming up. We just came off of a trial. I will be in the barn working on tunnels and other searching, but really reinforcing going into a tunnel equals a rat's in there. So many times that the couple of times, the 2, 4, or 6 times that he would trial in a weekend, that he is like, okay, I guess they just forgot. And it's still very rewarding to him. The other piece of that is I don't always know now that I'm in master. Finally, we'll talk about how long that took. But what I will do is if I think there might be another rat out here, or if I know, I will go ahead after he tunnels and be like, oh my gosh, we got to find it now. And so in trial, I will say, let's go find it. And we just start working again. He will get a little bit frustrated. He'll yell at me. He's a terrier. I understand it. I now am at peace with that. And we try to find another rat. So I try to divert him to say, hey, let's keep going. This time you're supposed to find one. But again, those are so small in the process that the rate of reinforcement in practice was so high, it doesn't click down his motivation to tunnel. Because tunnels are non-negotiable in trial, they also need to be non-negotiable in your practice. My rule of thumb is I'm going to ask my dog twice. I'm going to ask them when their brain is ready, when they're not maybe right on odor, and I'm going to ask them at any point, but I'm also looking for the optimal arousal time. So let's say my dog is really trying to pinpoint some odor, or is still pretty excited and maybe they're moving really quickly or they're being kind of vocal. That is not the time to ask them to tunnel. They are in rat mode. They literally have to shift from the sniffy side of the brain to the more operant side of the brain. So I have tried asking Norby in trial to tunnel, and he gave me the bird, and I asked him again when he was still really upset about hunting and emotional about all of it, and we weren't successful. So looking for that opportune time and getting guidance on that would be very helpful. So I will ask him once. I also don't always use the word tunnel. I say go in because I think I poisoned the word tunnel in this context, not in agility. Tunnel's beautifully in agility. And if I ask him twice, it's going to end the run in some way. So if it's in practice, I will physically, again, if your dog is comfortable with this, I will physically get them. And it's all gentle and out of love. I'm going to get them and I'm going to place them right in front of the tunnel and I'm going to say my tunnel word. And then they're going to tunnel. And if they don't tunnel, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to collect them again and we're going to stand in front of the tunnel and I'm going to say tunnel. And we're going to do that as long as it takes for them to tunnel, no matter how many rats are still on the course. Now, this is not the protocol that you have to do it first. I know that's a very popular thing right now. I want to do it when we're ready, when my dog is emotionally ready and knows what they're doing. Now, that shouldn't take too many times for them to go through the tunnel because you've reinforced it so many times. And this could even still have a rat inside of the tunnel. It doesn't mean that there's nothing in the tunnel. You could have a cork or you could have a, rat on a rope. But you have to be really clear. There has to be boundaries that when I ask you to do something and you know how to do it and you're comfortable doing it physically and emotionally, you have to do it. And if you don't in practice, they're never going to do it. Take my word for it. They're not going to do it because it's a negotiable thing. They can get away with it. They can keep searching. So in competition, what do? This is the hardest part. You have to NQ yourself. If you ask your dog twice to do it, and then they can't do it because they think, it's a trial. She can't make me do it, or he can't make me do it. They can't make me do it. It's a trial. They can't touch me. They know this. They're smart. You're going to say, I'm going to NQ myself, and I'm going to physically get my dog, and we are leaving. Now, I can't make them tunnel. I can't put them in front of a tunnel in trial. Wow, wouldn't that be great? But I'm going to physically grab them and say, we're done. Leash them up, we leave. It's not mean or harsh. Outwardly, it's punishment. And it's a form of punishment that is clear and fair and still keeps our relationship intact. And it has worked brilliantly. The other thing, the bonus tip that I want to share is you need to start looking for places to practice. You don't have to take coaching from other people. That's hard for me. Is you're going to look for run-throughs or practice sessions or even private lessons where you can share this video, you can share the protocols and say, I would like to do this. I have had the privilege of doing this at other places so that Norby understands my mom is going to require me tunneling no matter where we go. He doesn't know that if we go to a new place that I'm not going to institute those rules. So I did. I emailed a local club and I said they were doing a run-through. I said, I'd love to come. This is what I'd like to do. Are you okay with that? They said, absolutely. Thank you to Champion Crossroads down in Pine Mountain for letting me do this the first time. And I've also done it up in Aiken. That's where I learned a lot of these things. And I just set it up just like I do here at our home base barn. And guess who ran away from me and said, oh no. And I said, oh yes. And then he did. He had to tunnel and then he goes, I got it. I understand. And I'm going to continue to do that in our practice. I'm going to continue to practice at other places. I'm also going to continue to run him at lower levels now that we're in master so that tunnels aren't always challenging all the time. They aren't always these complex designs or multiple turns. I want sometimes to him to have an easy time. So in a couple of weeks, he's going to run an open B. He's a master level dog now. But it's going to help us as a team work on those tunnels and also work on our knowledge of when he's done and searching a known number of rats. That's for another video. But I want you to use these tools to really hone in your tunnel skills. I see so many dogs that are amazing hunters like Norby that literally will fight for 2 minutes until the time is up to tunnel. It doesn't have to be that way. And I hope that this helps you. If you have any questions, you want to send me videos, I'll leave all my contact information down below. I love this kind of thing. I love problem solving, and you can solve this problem with or without me in person. The tunnel woes are something, in my opinion, that you're never going to cure. You're going to go into remission. Let me say that again. Your tunnel woes are never going to be cured. They're going to go into remission. which means that you're going to continue these protocols until the ends of time, until you have no fear that your dog's tunnel issues are going to creep back up. I plan on continuing my protocols for Norby's whole life, his whole career in barn hunt, because I don't want to risk us going back to all the challenges and the NQs we had. We had 15 NQs over a couple of years, no Qs. In regular classes, we did crazy eights and did well, but didn't tunnel and lost a lot of points for that. But we had 15 before he went to back and got his senior title in one weekend. And this is after, 4 or 5 years of doing barn hunt with him. And then the very first weekend we did master was here in our own home barn, which has an advantage and a disadvantage. And he had 4 out of 4 Qs. Now, I'm not saying that's what's going to be your result, but the conflict was so small that we were able to hunt our rats and communicate with each other and have a wonderful time. And I want the same for you. I want the same for you and your dog.